Hey guys, my name is Nicolette Mashile. I am also known as the Financial Bunny. Welcome to the Financial Bunny TV. Today we're talking all things making sure that you are living within your means using your budget on the 22/7 app. Now remember that nothing that I say on this video constitutes as financial advice. If you are looking for financial advice, please speak to somebody that is certified and registered with the FSCA. So we definitely want you to be able to show your money who's boss. And the only way you're going to be able to do this is to know what's actually happening in your finances. And one way we've realized that you can do this is by really detailing how you use your money on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and of course on a monthly basis. So let's talk a little bit about this. In fact, story time a little. I think 2 weeks ago, I had a financial coaching client that I was assisting with their finances and just really figuring out why when she does the mathematics in her head, she can pay off all of the things that she needs to pay off every single month. This is including her savings and investments, including her living expenses, including her contractual debt. And she has enough money that she's earning every single month to be able to cover all of these things and should still have some money left. But however, at the end of the month, she just doesn't seem to have anything. Yet when she's doing her budgeting at the beginning of the month, she has a disposable income of like 5,000 rand. So what actually happens to her money? And she feels like she could be using that money for something else. And I was like, whoa, stop the lorry, pause. The problem is that, yes, maybe there's a level of misusing your money, granted. But there may also be a level of you misbudgeting, because paying off things at the beginning of the month throws you off. Because remember, there are things that, yes, are paid off on a monthly perspective. So your car loan is paid off on a monthly perspective. Your rent or your bond paid off on a monthly perspective, right? So all of those things have a monthly cost to them. Your savings, your investments may have a monthly contribution that you are making. But living, on the other hand, does not have a monthly contribution, because yes, you may get it right in the first week, but what happens to the 3 weeks that are left before your next salary? You are going to live, and there are unpredictable things that can happen. Those things not necessarily qualify as emergency things where you've got to have an emergency response and dip into your emergency fund. They do need you to adequately plan for them in your budgeting. And this is why I say it's important then that when you do use the 22/7 app, you account for these things. So from the background, remember, the 22/7 app uses the information that comes from your bank account. So it will track your spending based on your behavior using your bank account, but also needs you as the person to input certain things into the app for it to holistically be able to assist you in putting together the best budget that is going to that's going to work for you. So the first thing is you've got to obviously link your transactional account, the one that you use the most. I know people will link the account where they think they're behaving very well. This helps nobody. So there's really no point in doing that. You've got to link the transactional account. Again, I want to make sure that everybody knows that it is safe to be able to use the 22/7 app based on the information that they've given us of how the app actually operates. The app only reads only. It does not have the power to transact. Anyway, you get your OTP from your bank directly to your cell phone number. So they would not be able to bypass that huge security measure that the banks have already put in. And remember, it encrypts your information. So it decodes it and gives it a different code altogether, which the normal everyday person may not be able to interpret. That's very, very important. So you link those transactional accounts. And then what the app will automatically do is that it will read, obviously, the transactions that you make on your bank account and to start categorizing them. So things that you do when you are buying from retail shops will fall under retail. Things that you do, takeaways and food and supermarkets will fall under groceries. It will start doing that. Your car, it will pick up that there's a car loan that you're paying. So it's quite an intelligent app because it's able to pick up the data from your transactions that you are busy with on a daily basis, right? And then it will now start to allocate those things into what we call categories or budget categories. You can, as I said, you've got to help the app because it's going to pick up on what you do. But if you want to change behavior, we've got to plan your budget. And I always say to all my clients, make sure that you are budgeting from a weekly perspective, especially when it comes to the living expenses. Things like that are fixed living expenses, like your school fees, because they are broken down into monthly contributions. It is fine. Those you can do. But things like your groceries, things like entertainment, things like, all of those things. Those things, I would suggest that you take the total amount of money and you try and figure out what the total is based on weekly spending, because you will know if, let's say, for instance, the total amount of your living expenses is perhaps maybe 10,000 rand, right? And maybe let's say 8,000 rand. So it's 8,000 rand divided by 4, which would be 2,000 rand every single month. Now you know what 50% of 8,000 rand is. It's 4,000. So if you are reaching, because also what the app has is what we call spending alerts, right? And the spending alerts will start to tell you when you've spent 50% of the amount of money that you've allocated, for instance, to your groceries. So if you have divided it into four weeks and you know it's 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, by the time the app sends you a 50% spending alert, that should come after week 2. Because then you know you have spent 4,000 rand into week 2, and you know that you are still left with 4,000 rand for the next or last 2 weeks of the month. Because truly, for you to be able to figure out what your actual disposable income is, it should be the amount that's left in your bank account the day before you get your next salary. And that will start to tell you whether you're living way beyond your means or you are living way below your means, and you actually do have a true intrinsic disposable income that you can channel to other things. We don't want you to start clingering yourself and channeling a certain amount of money in the beginning when you are budgeting, and then you find yourself in a situation where you actually don't have enough money for your living expenses and some of the unpredictable things that may happen throughout the month. And then you start thinking, no, but my budgeting is actually not working. No, your budgeting may not be working because you are budgeting for a month from 1 week. It's difficult to think about a month. For instance, I have an issue with food. You may find that I'm allocating a certain amount of money to my groceries, and I even include takeaways. But things happen during the month. Sometimes work schedule changes and I'm working late at night and I'm not going to come back home to cook. So I have to grab a takeaway, but now I've jumped my takeaway budget. And these are the things that are unpredictable that I cannot figure out at the beginning of the actual month, So it's important to factor those things in. The other thing that the app actually has is that it's got what is called your nudges, right? So nudges are hints and observations about your money. So it's things that you may have not considered to budget or to manage your money a little bit better, but it's insights. It may say to you, did you know that you spend this amount of your actual income on retail? So it's just a nudge to say, maybe there's a behavioral change that you need to make. Did you know that you are spending 80% of your grocery budget on takeaways? So it's nudges that are just like they tell you what's actually happening, or things like if you're paying too much on insurance, or maybe your insurer has double debited you. These are things that the app is going to hoy at you to be able to assist you in managing your finances just a little bit better. And that's what we want ultimately, because if you know holistically what's happening on your budget, you know whether you're living beyond your means or below your means, and whether or not you do have the disposable income to be able to channel to something else that may create more money-making opportunities. So if you have not had an opportunity to download the 22/7 app, it is available on iOS and on Android. And let me tell you, it may just transform how you start to see your finances.